Hey, it's Shane Speal. I'm out here in my wood shop. I just got done making a guitar, making a cigar box guitar out of an antique box. And it was all for, hold on, I got my notes here. The Great CBG Builder Swap Off. Now, this is a Facebook group. There's like almost 1,000 members in there, but twice a year, they host this thing called a cigar box guitar swap where you get somebody's name in secret, like a secret Santa, and you learn a little bit about them, and then you build a cigar box guitar for them. Somebody else in the group builds one for you. Like I said, they do it twice a year. It's on Facebook. I put a link to that Facebook group in the description of this YouTube video. I've promoted this many times, but this was the first time I got to take part in a swap. Now, the person I chose was Casey Lambert of Off Center Woodworks down in Florida. And I filmed the entire build. This took place over a few days. I do want to thank cbgitty.com. I used their templates in here. I used tuners, their strings. Of course, it was Shane Speal signature tuners and strings, yada, yada, yada. But again, thank you to cbgitty.com. Oh, and the reason I'm not holding the guitar now is I already shipped it to him. It's on its way down to Florida right now. Here's how I built his guitar. Welcome to the 2024 Great Cigar Box Guitar Swap Off. I'm Shane Speal, and this is the guitar I made for Casey at Off Center Woodworks. And I got to tell you, I've seen the guitars that Casey makes, and they are just absolutely fantastic. And what I built is nowhere near. I am probably the least qualified builder out of all you guys. I'm simply a musician that has been chasing the sound in my head, and that sound is old time. What did the music sound like before the Delta Blues happened? And people had to build their own instruments, so I wanted that. I wanted it creaky. I built Casey the guitar I would want to play at home. Again, the star of the show is the box. This is an antique House of Windsor cigar box. Here's a little overview of how I built it. The neck is made from the wood of a 1930 pipe organ. This is one of the wooden pipes taken out of that pipe organ. I've taken a much larger one and cut it down to be the perfect size for a cigar box guitar neck. For the box, I'm using an antique House of Windsor box. The House of Windsor Cigar Company was just down the road from where I live in Windsor, Pennsylvania. They are now out of business, but this is one of their original redwood boxes. So I've got a long piece of wood. I've got to cut it down to size. I've marked where the nut is, where the bridge is, the end of the box, and the cutoff point here. This neck is going to go through the box. So I need to get rid of the wood so that this box lid fits flush. I'm going to use a dado blade. I've showed this in an early video, probably 10 years ago. Right here, I'm raising the dado blade up just high enough to be as high as the thickness of the box. And I'm going to remove all the extra wood. Nice, perfect fit. It's flush where the box touches the top, the bottom, and where the bridge is. And just underneath, I removed like 1/8 of an inch there, just so that the wood can resonate some more. Now I need to notch out the headstock. I use my belt sander to clean up that headstock, and the curve of the end of the belt sander makes a nice little curve on that headstock too. Check that out. I used my router to route the back of the neck to give it a nice curved feel to it. Okay, so I'm using some antique files to notch out where the stove bolt is going to go. The stove bolt acts as a nut. I tried a couple different files here. Quite honestly, I ended up using my Dremel. I'm using CB Gitty's tuner headstock drilling templates, and these are my favorite ones with the 3 tuners. I just set it up to the neck, mark where they go, and that's how I drill them out. On the backs of these too, it has string spacing, and that's where I get the marks to drill at the butt end of the guitar where the strings come up through. Here I'm drilling for the tuners. Now I gotta mark the frets to be wood burned on. This is my homemade jig I made for the CB Gitty fret templates. Now I'm wood burning the frets on. I have a Coalwood, C-O-L-W-O-O-D, a Coalwood wood burner. In fact, if you go to woodburning.com, you can find it. I'm putting on these little silicone finger protectors because that pen can get kind of hot. The cool thing about these pens are you can swap out the tips, and I'm using a sharp tip right now to do the fret lines. Now, I want this guitar to look a little more primitive, so I'm going fast with the fret lines. Usually I'm going super slow, and the iron is not as hot. Right now, the iron is just burning hot, and it's leaving a halo with the marks as I go across the wood. Halo meaning those extra burns, but it's giving me that, like I said, that primitive look to it. So I'm going through marking all the frets on this 23-inch scale. Now I've got to swap out the tip. I'm taking off the sharp tip and putting on a blunt tip, and that will be for the fret dots and eventually for me to burn my name at the top of the headstock. These Coalwoods heat up super fast. I love using this wood burning pen. It's not like that slow burning one you would get from a hobby store. Now I'm going to give it a light sanding to get some of the edges of the wood burning marks off. I also made sure to keep some of the patina from the original pipe organ. Then I'm burning my name and 24 for building in 2024. That goes on the headstock. A little more sanding. I'm holding the camera right now, but here's what I'm doing for the sound holes. Now this is very delicate redwood or cedar, I'm not sure, I think it's redwood. And so instead of putting a big like violin F hole in here, I'm making these, it looks like termite holes. I got this idea from a cigar box guitar builder that goes by Uncle Polly, and look him up on Instagram as Uncle Polly Stuff. And I'm basically stealing his designs. I just love them, and it looks like, you know, some insect, some worm is getting in there and chewed open some holes. And I first used my Dremel. Where'd my Dremel go? Right there. There's my Dremel. And now I'm using a wood burner to just fill them in. I'm real happy with the way these sound holes came out. Look at that. There and there. And I even put a little on the back there. So it looks like this worm-eaten box, and all credit goes to Uncle Polly. Just a great way to throw some sound holes in there while still maintaining structural integrity of a very antique box. Here's the neck. This is the wood from an old pipe organ. I'm really happy with the way it came out. I left the original color. This is part of the old pipe organ. It's one of the wooden flutes. And, you know, you have the exterior color, which was just a shellac put over there. When pipe organs are installed in the church, there's a lot of the pipes you don't see, and especially the old ones. They would have like the really cool looking metal pipes out front, but tucked in the back were like the wooden flutes, and some of them they didn't worry about like how well they were finished. They were there to make music. This is a Moeller pipe organ, originally installed in the church in Philadelphia. I kept the original color on the front of the fretboard, and I reliced it a little bit. I did not spend a lot of time getting perfect lines for the frets. I wanted it to have an old-time look to it, just kind of going with everything. We have the worm-eaten sound holes here of the box, and the neck to match it. And this whole build started with a box. My recipient gave me a few things, said he plays right-handed. That's good to know. He said he's like an aerospace engineer, and at first I was thinking maybe make a rocket or something like that. But then I thought, if he's going to get a cigar box guitar from me, I want to give him just something special. And this box had been sitting on my shelf for years, and I wanted to make it sing. So that's what I'm giving him. There's not going to be any pickup in here. When you play this guitar, you're going to play it for the acoustics. That's why I got started in all of this. I wanted to hear what the blues sounded like before there were the blues. You know, where people were so poor that they would have to make their own instrument. And I'm talking pre-1920s. Like I said, this is either, I think this is redwood. They made them out of redwood. They made them out of cedar. But it's solid wood. It's not plywood. And these things crack really easy. One of the things I made sure to do is on the inside of this was a paper label. And that's actually going to give me some support and keep it from cracking. Now, I've been very lucky with this box. These boxes can crack if you don't watch. In the box sides here, I added extra plywood where the neck is going to be notched out, and a couple pieces of rulers here so that I have more to glue to. So I've got to notch this out for the neck, get the neck in there, glue everything shut, add the tuners and string it up. All right, I'm going to put the notch in. I'm using Giddy's neck notcher template. Now, the one thing I know is when I cut down this neck, it is a little thinner than his template. So I'm going to adjust for that once I put the lines in. And all you do, I don't know if you could see, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the opposite way. You put it down on the box and you match the numbers on each side, and then you have dead center. It was actually Mike Orr. Mike Orr is the author of Homemade Music Factory, the book. He lives just up the road from me. And he came up with the centering rule. And he probably got it from something else too, but it was in his book, a centering rule with the neck notch. And then Giddy used that idea and made them. Now, Giddy also has a centering rule without a neck notch. I use both of these all the time. They just make everything so much easier. You just put it on, match the numbers on each side, and you have dead center. So I got one neck notch here. Do it again here. I guess I don't film as much when I'm out here. First of all, this is kind of like my happy place. Second of all, I'm usually listening to sermons. Preacher named Kevin Zadai. Okay, I made the neck notch here. I'm going to cut it out. Now, it is a little wider than this neck, but if I cut on the inside of the pencil line, I should accommodate for that. And I just use this old saw. This is probably about 60 years old. This has cut the necks of thousands of cigar box guitars. Make sure it's lined up. And that blade the other way. We got most of it out. There we go, we got most of it out. There's the first neck notch. Ooh, nice fit. I'll do the other one. And as you see, like I said, this is very fragile wood. So adding a piece of plywood on the inside, these are just scraps. That will strengthen these walls. That one's done. Let's see how this fits. That goes like this. Put the neck in there. The box lid. Okay, I can tell that it needs to come down. I need to take a little more wood so that everything sits flush. But as far as the tightness of the fit, that's perfect. I'm going to take a file and file down the bottoms of each of these. And then again, it's just antique tools that I bought at yard sales. It's almost there. I'm just going to keep this up, but we don't need to keep filming. There we go. Nice tight fit there. That's, once I get some glue in there, yeah, it'll be perfect. All right, let's get back at it. Hey, check it out. New t-shirt, Billy Stick, Cigar Box Guitars. Thanks for the shirt, Billy. All glued together. Whoops. I've got tuners on there. Just strung it up and spent some time tweaking a few things. It's still covered in sawdust. I need to clean it up a little. I can't get over how resonant this box sounds. I mean, there's nothing to this. In the great cigar box guitar swap off, these guys are making like Maseratis and Lamborghinis. What I built was just a guitar that I would want to play. There's no electronics. It is fully acoustic. But the star is the antique box. And as I'm playing this, it's just ringing out. I think my biggest fear is leaving pick scratches because when I play a little bit hard. The action's high on this already, but it's actually perfect for slide. So what I did I took this Giddy bolt and I just sanded it down on the bottom so we don't have the teeth cutting into the wood. And that should be stable enough and not crack the wood. Again, action is high here. But in slide, that's where I can walk the tightrope. Wow, wow. To me, like the ideal cigar box guitar is a little out of tune and a little buzzy. Now, granted, I have some made by you guys that are just off the hook. Amazing, perfect players. But I fell in love with the instrument because I was looking for something imperfect. Casey at Off Center Woodworks, wear it in good health. When it comes to these YouTube videos, I do have to apologize because I have no problem at all teaching you guys how to play. But when it comes to building, I stink as a videographer because I don't like to show everything. Or actually, it's because I don't like to film everything. I like to get into my own little world here in my shop and not have to worry about the camera. Now, I am capturing steps in here to give you guys, you know, to show you guys how I do some of these things. But in all honesty, I get a little embarrassed too. My equipment's old, but it gets the job done. Everything in here gets the job done. It is embarrassing to show some of the things that I use. Don't tell OSHA. I just love making a simple slide cigar box guitar. I love playing them too. I mean, there's nothing like just taking a stubby slide and just getting those riffs, those old-time blues riffs out of such a simple machine. And that's the thrill for me. And I think a lot of people are missing it. They're getting too involved in who is my parts supplier and everything else. And look at me, I'm spokesman for CB Giddy. But I think we're getting off track on some of that. It's not about who your parts supplier is. Quite honestly, if we're going to get into little pissing contests like that, I'm done. I'll just go back to performing. But if we're going to be making instruments because we love the music, because we love the instruments, because even if we can't play, that we make an instrument so that somebody else can play it and make great music. I mean, that's the key. By the way, there's some of the pipe organ pipes. Yeah, that's a flute. I have a bunch of them that were cut down. They were the real big pipes. And actually, some of them I had to cut just to fit into my minivan. But others, I've had this idea of making guitar amps where the speaker is on the bottom of that and it shoots up and comes out like a Bose Wave radio. I don't know if it'll work or not. But one of these days, I'll finally build it. And the other ones, like this one, real long one here, is probably going to get milled down into more necks. It's just too big for anything else that I can do with it. I never really showed this, but above my doorway are all my old foot stompers. The ones that I would use in concert, and after they would die, I'd take the tops off and just nail them in my wood shop. I'm so glad I have a band now and I don't have to use that stupid thing anymore.